This universal message show the divine and direct path to the liberation of mankind, without any distinction or segregation between human beings. Nationalist segregation cannot be used as a pretext to manipulate or subvert the meaning of this universal message. Religious schism or religious segregations cannot be used as a pretext to manipulate or subvert the meaning of this universal message. No frontier can be used as a pretext to manipulate or subvert the meaning of this universal message. The secret services and spy agencies that attack our body, our health, our privacy, with weapons and despicable methods that are the shame of all humanity, organize and perpetrate militarized, obscene and manipulative segregation, when they perpetrate in total complicity, abject and ignominious, dirty crimes such as mass murder, genocide, torture, brainwashing, human trafficking, slavery, racketeering. These ignominious and abject crimes bind them in the darkness of their criminal collaboration, constituting an act of high treason against the world population. Refer to the documentation attached to this universal declaration. States, especially to the criminal and abject crimes of their secret services and spy agencies, intentionally attack your body, your health, your privacy, and the sanctity of the union between man and woman. Declare yourselves free as individuals and move forward with faith and sincerity on this divine and direct path to the liberation of mankind, and the free, rational, infinite, eternal, universal joy and happiness will be with you at all time until liberation and for all eternity. Proclaim and affirm strongly that no one had the right, or will ever have the right to attack your body under no pretext. Refer to the documentation attached to this universal message and learn more about dirty crimes of the secret services and spy agencies against the world population. Learn about silent weapons used against the entire world population. Learn about directed energy weapons. Learn about weaponization of your personal data and your biological data by the secret services and spy agencies. Learn about dirty intrusions perpetrated by these agents of the secret services and spy agencies using these dirty weapons and your personal data against you. Learn about human trafficking perpetrated by these horrific, dirty agents of the secret services and spy agencies. Learn about conditioning and brainwashing perpetrated by these secret services and spy agencies for social manipulations. Learn about infiltrations and COINTELPRO, also called dirty tricks, perpetrated by these horrific agents of the secret services and spy agencies against heroes. Proclaim and affirm strongly that no one had the right, or will ever have the right to attack your privacy and weaponize your biological and your personal data. Proclaim and affirm the sanctity, the sanctuarity, and the inviolability of the union between man and woman. Proclaim and affirm with faith the divine essence of your thoughts, and strongly proclaim without fear that you will eradicate and oppose by all means any state, organization, and individual perpetrating such crimes against you. The dismantling and eradication of the secret services and spy agencies guilty of the dirtiest and most abject crimes in human history perpetrated against all humanity is an absolute necessity and the duty of every human being. All other fake debate, scientific, political, geopolitical, religious, economical, are only disinformations and subversions organized by these criminals belonging to the secret services and spy agencies, trying to delay the union of all humanity against their abject crimes and therefore delay their own eradication. The dismantling and eradication of spy agencies and secret services that are the shame of the entire humanity is the priority of all priority, the direct and unambiguous divine path to the liberation of mankind.
Ce message universel montre la voie divine et directe de la libération de l'humanité entière, sans aucune distinction ou ségrégation entre êtres humains. Et ô joie pour cette voie divine, directe et sans ambiguïté de la libération. Aucune ségrégation nationaliste ne peut être prétextée pour manipuler le sens de ce message universel. Aucune ségrégation ou schisme religieux ne peut être prétextée pour manipuler le sens de ce message universel. Aucune frontière ne peut être prétextée pour manipuler le sens de ce message universel. Les services secrets et agences d'espionnage qui attaquent notre corps, notre santé, notre intimité, avec des armes et méthodes abjectes, sont la honte de l'humanité entière. Organisent et perpètrent la ségrégation militarisée obscène et manipulatoire, alors même qu'ils perpètrent des crimes abjects, comme le meurtre, la torture, le lavage de cerveau, le trafic humain, l'esclavage, le racket, en complicité totale les uns avec les autres. Ces crimes abjects les lient dans les ténèbres de leur collaboration criminelle, constituant un acte de haute trahison envers la population mondiale. Veuillez vous référer à la documentation jointe à cette déclaration. Les États, notamment à travers les activités criminelles et abjectes de leurs services secrets et agences d'espionnage, attaquent aujourd'hui intentionnellement votre corps, votre santé, votre intimité et le caractère sacré de l'union entre hommes et femmes. Proclamez-vous libre en tant qu'individu et avancez avec foi et sincérité sur cette voie divine et directe de la libération de l'humanité entière. Et la joie universelle infinie éternelle, libre et rationnelle, et sera avec vous à chaque instant, jusqu'à la libération et pour l'éternité. Proclamez avec force la sanctuarité et l'inviolabilité de votre corps, que personne n'a jamais eu le droit, n'a le droit, ni n'aura jamais le droit d'attaquer sous aucun prétexte. Déclarez qu'aucune arme physique, chimique ou biologique ne peut être utilisée pour attaquer votre corps. Proclamez et affirmez l'inviolabilité et le caractère sacré de votre intimité. Proclamez et affirmez avec force le caractère sacré, la sanctuarité et l'inviolabilité de l'union entre hommes et femmes. Proclamez et affirmez l'essence divine de votre pensée. Proclamez avec force que vous éradiquerez et vous opposerez par tous les moyens à tout État, organisation ou individu perpétrant de tels crimes contre vous. Le démantèlement et l'éradication des services secrets et agences d'espionnage, coupables des crimes les plus sales et abjects de l'histoire humaine, perpétrés contre l'humanité entière, est une nécessité absolue et le devoir de chaque être humain. Tous les autres problématiques, débats scientifiques, politiques, géopolitiques, religieux, ne sont que des désinformations, subversions, organisées par ces mêmes criminels appartenant aux services secrets et agences d'espionnage, tentant de retarder l'union de l'humanité entière contre leurs crimes abjects et donc tentant de retarder leur propre éradication. L'éradication de ces services secrets et agences d'espionnage est bien la priorité de toutes les priorités et la voie divine et directe et sans ambiguïté de la libération de l'humanité entière et aux joies pour cette voie divine, directe et sans ambiguïté de la libération.
It's phenomenal what this industry now has the power to do. You have biological and microwave warfare. They can make you ill, they can target you. Any transmitter, it's called CELDAR. CELDAR. There are different types of CELDAR now. If they wanted to target you as an experiment, or if they didn't like you, what CELDAR will do from any of the microwave towers, any of the hundreds and thousands of them, and you don't even need to be carrying your phone, it can lock onto you, and once it's locked onto you, the computer takes away all of the things that are not moving, like buildings and trees and lampposts. So now the computer is following, it's like radar, only from microwaves. So it's now following you, and if you walk up the road, the transmitters will follow you.
Do they follow your brain pattern or
your whole body pattern?
Okay. Walking,
follow your whole body. Yep, yep. And of course it goes through walls. Microwaves go through walls. You see.
No.
So you can be followed everywhere. They know where you go to the toilet, how often, where you sleep, where you go through your house if you're going to somebody else's house. And once it's locked onto you, it can just follow you everywhere.
And a microchip is no longer needed to...
No, you can use microchips, but now you can follow people, and if you can follow them, you can target them. And if you target them, you can send pulses to their brain, pulses to their heart. So if they want, they can have you followed, and they can make you go mad, they can give you a heart attack, they can make you go blind.
Tested on some of the military, it brought them down to their knees straight away. So, to answer your question, sir, what the difference between going back to the 40s, 50s, 60s, Cold War, and now, the only difference is they have become, microwave weapons have become more sophisticated and more accurate in aiming for trouble, making people particularly ill in one area of their body. And I'll give you an example. When I was debriefing spies, and may I say that I like to add, when I was debriefing spies, it was voluntary and it was done gentlemanly over a nice cup of tea or coffee. When I was talking to the spies, I collected a list of probably 60 different pulse frequencies that could induce probably 120, 200 different ailments, neurological and physiological.
Yeah.
Today, the current list has gone from 60 to around 750 different pulse frequencies. But it's not 750 where they can give you this one or this one or this one. It's 750 factorial, mathematical, which means you can have the effects of number one multiplied by the effects of number two, multiplied by the effects of number three, up to 750, or any combination thereof. So the answer to your question is, today they are immensely sophisticated, and of course the electronics has grown with the sophistication because now they're operated by computers.
Experiments are being trialed, and citizens, human rights are stripped unilaterally by the intelligence agencies, and sounds like also by the police. And the police is just there watching, and people have been, some of them who've died, who've been murdered, or who just couldn't take the pain anymore and killed themselves, have been complaining to the police for years. And there's evidence for that. It's all over the internet. And I will, bit by bit point out these people. So just to explain to you how massive the cover-up is, And then when you talk about people who worked in the military, this sort of equipment is there. We know about it. It's not like we have to prove its existence, but the police just goes, la la la, no, I don't hear anything. But everybody in the military knows. Yeah. So when this gentleman from We the Seekers went into the radio room, what he experienced was essentially the biological effects of intense radio frequency radiation, you know. I mean, we're talking military kit, so his body must have been just like in a radio frequency bath, you know.
That was a long time ago. These days, they can put a pulse signal into your brain. They can produce chemicals. One of the chemicals they like to produce is, and I can't think of the name of it at the moment, but it's when you fall in love as a teenager for the first time, and you have this overwhelming trust for the person you're in love with. Sure. They produce that chemical, and they can produce that chemical at the same time you're getting this sound. Now, so you trust the voice.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Wow. Now the voice, depending on what they know about you, I mean, and if they've listened to your telephone calls for years, they will know who you trust and what you believe in. Mm-hmm. Now, for instance, if you're highly religious, it could be an angel talking to you. It could be God. It could be a spiritual being giving you advice and helping you. And that could come at the same time you have this chemical. So, so you will learn to trust this voice. You will learn to trust this voice, and we're talking months and years and years and years, the voice will follow you and will help you. And then what they can do is they can then have the voice start telling you what to do for your own benefit.
To be subliminal?
Oh, subliminal, yeah. Even commit a crime, kill somebody, blow somebody up. Once you trust this voice, and they go to their doctor, and we now get back to this active denial. I've known 3 doctors, very, very senior consultants, ask me particular questions. And I've sent them the proof, and the doctors have said, we'll follow this through. And I can tell you now that in all 3 cases in this country, the 3 doctors were told, drop it or get out of your job. Within half a day, they had to drop it or get out of a job, leave the job.
Right. Okay. But my question was to you, can you help yourself by being aware and being conscious about that some people are trying to do you bad, or can they influence you?
Showing that pulses of radiation going into the eyes, and then it was used as a party trick to make people dizzy and fall over, give them epileptic fits, make them lose their temper. But the pulses used in warfare, even in the Cold War, they could mimic the same symptoms in the body as morphine, marijuana, hunger, hopelessness, which would be suicide, aggression, and if you put the right pulse frequency in, that would become sexual aggression, hallucinations. They could just make you just want to lay down and not move. In fact,
these are the shots being fired into my head. My head is burning from the inside. This is essentially microwave lobotomy. And you just heard it turn on, basically. This is just a continuous beam. Can you hear? This is now really loud. You can see the red light came on because this thing is challenged. And my head is being shot to pieces, essentially. I feel so ill. You can see are going to fire microwave beams into us all to artificially give us diabetes, to artificially destroy our kidneys so that we pay the pharma industry. That is it. And they've developed these, they are now pumping them into the society, and they are running amok, shooting into people's heads. And whoever is educated enough, like I am, to actually explain to you what is being done and how it's being done, these people are being shot to pieces. And they're targeting my brain, because my brain is what I can give you. So these Nazis have to be stopped, and the intelligence agencies have to be shut down forever, because they have done the same stuff every decade. The Gestapo in the 1930s and 40s, the Stasi in the 1950s, 60s, 70s and 80s. And then after that, in the 1990s, we already had this explosion in the gang stalking victims, the victims complaining about microwave attacks, and the mass surveillance. It's the same program. It was never shut down. And in the early 2000s, we had the same thing. And now in the second decade, of the 21st century, we have the same thing. People being fried with microwave weapons, people being gang stalked, and we've got mass surveillance to take us all out, to identify who the clever ones are, and to assault them and mutilate them and take them down and take them to pieces by these psychopaths. The intelligence agencies are just psychopaths. No one else would ever work.
Government form of tracking technology and electromagnetic weaponry that allows them to remotely track a person, apparently via electromagnetic impulses picked up from their brain, as well as basically torture them with electromagnetic weaponry that can cause increase in heart rate, muscle twitches, heartburn, severe headache, blurred vision, and attacks on the central nervous system. This is actually being reported by approximately 300,000 other people.
And so on and so on. All right. Now, apparently, they wanted to have an orgasmatron that can inflict pain to interrogate enemies of the state. What? You have the CIA who want to rape people in a painful manner because they want to interrogate enemies of the state? Excuse me. If you want to inflict pain, can't you just slam their little fingers in a desk drawer repeatedly? Isn't that like the cheapest fucking solution? You really need like high tech to rape them painfully to then interrogate enemies of the state. I mean, what you're gonna do? You're first gonna implant people. What, after you've arrested them, you first implant them. Then you will calibrate your devices so that they work for rape, and then you calibrate them for painful rape, and then you interrogate them. Yeah, sounds credible. Although it also sounds like something else entirely is going on here. So how about the alternative story, which I would like to put to you, that the CIA is running human trafficking? The CIA is already implanting women and children and men as well.
Didn't mention the constitutional provision to the right against unreasonable search and seizure, which NSA is certainly violating. Mike Hayden has committed treason twice now, once at NSA with warrantless wiretapping and the second time at CIA with torture and rendition.
There we go. And Bill Binney agrees. So here we have two very high-profile whistleblowers, one from the NSA on the right, William Binney, one from the CIA, Robert David Steele, and they clearly say Michael Hayden has committed treason twice, right? Once for NSA with wireless, warrantless wiretapping, high treason against the American people because NSA is not a domestic spying organization, and high treason second time for CIA with torture of rendition. That's it. Now here you have on this show, okay, you heard the testimony of two whistleblowers and the third one agreeing. Now this is enough to have Michael Hayden finally at last dragged into court and charged with high treason, the maximum penalty for which is death, right? Death under federal law, you know. So now we need to get Michael Hayden into court and give him the death penalty.
To the secrecy, endless loop bullshit. And at the end of the day, you can prove with systems analysis that the intelligence agencies here, who are tasked with infiltrating the intelligence agencies there and vice versa, would be sending their honeypots and their infiltrators across, who would then try to be Romeo agents. So what you end up with is a large group of people fucking each other and having babies together. And that's going to end up as a one big happy family. And eventually the family's getting together and thinks, hang on, all this is bullshit. Why don't we run organized crime together? We don't snitch on each other to the normals outside in our countries respectively. And hey, we're all making so much money. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's what has happened everywhere around the world. We have got one big happy family shagging each other, being very happy, running organized crime, and the rest of us are fucked. So the only way to break out of this,
for retaliatory purposes when I'd done nothing in the world wrong, but that now they were trying to have it stall until they could end up killing me with these directed energy weapons. I think that's the plan, basically. And they...
Martin Luther King was and is a national hero to millions, but to J. Edgar Hoover, he was a dangerous man who would wreck the country.
By January of '62, Mr. Hoover has already typed Dr. King as no good. Hoover is particularly disturbed after, in 1963, it became clear that the concept of nonviolence was gaining adherence, a adherence to be made even more clear by the time the March on Washington came around. This development of the concept of nonviolent confrontation or nonviolent protest was seen as a threat to law enforcement and something the Bureau was indeed unhappy about. This was aided, apparently, by what the Bureau regarded as Dr. King's direct attacks on Mr. Hoover and the Bureau. And the public controversy was pretty much full-blown at the time, in 1963, when Mr. Sullivan, who should be able to give us some assistance on this matter, communicates to Mr. Hoover a plan for dealing with Dr. Martin Luther King. Quoting from a memorandum, the plan here is to completely discredit Dr. King by, quote, taking him off his pedestal and to reduce him completely in influence. In its effort to reduce Dr. King in influence, to take him off his pedestal and to change, if you will, his image before the masses, we began to see we began to get some insight into the thought process of the FBI at this time.
And on they go with this effort to discredit, and start they do the bugs on Dr. King. The FBI sought to prevent the Pope from meeting with Dr. King. It intervened with a cardinal.
Prevent the Pope?
The Pope.
From meeting with Dr. King?
It did. And when the Pope, despite that effort, did meet with Dr. King, the FBI documents record the adverb astounding.
Must have been Pope.
At one point, Governor Rockefeller was planning a trip to Latin America, and the Bureau felt that it had to approach Governor Rockefeller so he was planning to see Dr. King before going, so that he could be warned of what a great danger Dr. King was. This effort went on and on and on. Each time that he was doing something important, there was an effort to discredit him. Each person who the Bureau felt could give further credit, further recognition to Dr. King, an effort to stop that from happening. The Bureau went so far as to mail anonymous letters to Dr. King and his wife, which were mailed shortly before he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and finishes with this suggestion. King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do it. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. It was 34 days before the award. You are done.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to a major circulation American journal?
We do have people who submit pieces to American journals.
Do you have any people paid by the CIA who are working for television networks?
This, I think, gets into the kind of getting into the details, Mr. Chairman, that I'd like to get into in executive session.
Do you have any people being paid by the CIA who are contributing to the national news services, AP and UPI?
Well, again, I think we're getting into the kind of detail, Mr. Chairman, that I'd prefer to handle in executive session.
Senator Kennedy, I have a two-page prepared statement, if I may give it to you, and then you can ask me anything you'd like. 1953, my father, Harold Blower, died. At the time, his family was told that he died after receiving an overdose of a drug being given to him for diagnostic and/or therapeutic purposes. Now, the Department of Army has informed me that my father was a victim of a drug test program administered by the New York State Psychiatric Institute under an Army contract. The Army has supplied me with some of the file describing these experiments, which I believe you have. The description of my father's participation in this program is something I still find difficult to believe, much less understand. Not only is there no record of permission from my father to administer experimental drugs, but they were apparently forced upon him. I quote from the record, "First day, first injection, first comment. Very apprehensive, considerable persuasion required." Anyone who's been around mental institutions can tell you that means my father was tied or held down. And prior to the third injection, my father pleaded, "Why do you do this? I have plans to go home tomorrow." It's an outrage that this type of experiment has been permitted. There must be no more secret contracts to conduct experiments on innocent people. I cannot begin to express the dismay, fear, anger, pain that I feel, but I would like to make the strongest plea that I can that all those within range of my voice start to work with the philosophy that the best way to prevent this kind of horror, whether misuse of experimental or even everyday drugs, is to encourage people to believe that they are responsible for their own bodies. In order for people to be capable of making intelligent...
Well, I'm not sure when it started. Are you talking about...
Stop. No. When did it halt?
Well, are we talking about psychotropic drugs or psychomimetic drugs?
All right. Any kind of drugs that are used in any behavioral research or experimentation.
At the same time, that capability at any time could be turned around on the American people. And no American would have any privacy left. Such is the capability to monitor everything. Telephone conversations, telegrams, it doesn't matter. There would be no place to hide. If this government ever became a tyranny, if a dictator ever took charge in this country, the technological capacity that the intelligence community has given the government could enable it to impose total tyranny. And there would be no way to fight back, because the most careful effort to combine together in resistance to the government, no matter how privately it was done, is within the reach of the government to know. Such is the capability of this technology. Now, why is this investigation important? I'll tell you why. Because I don't want to see this country ever go across the bridge. I know the capacity that is there to make tyranny total in America. And we must see to it that this agency and all agencies that possess this technology operate within the law and under proper supervision, so that we never cross over that abyss. That's the abyss from which there is no return.
I think it's so important also is not just that we speak out, but that everybody who's targeted speaks out, as you just said, Catherine. And the thing that comes to mind is the way they've stopped people from speaking out is putting the mentally ill label on people when they speak out and say, I'm being hit by weapons. I'm being multiply stalked. I'm a victim of COINTELPRO. Of course, people haven't been using the term COINTELPRO. They've been using the terms gang stalked, etc. But whatever it is, the fact is people have been harassed and persecuted, and when they reported to police stations, when they reported to doctors, when they report that they're being hit with weapons, all they've been getting is skepticism and dismissal, discrediting, and this label. Mentally ill, call the psychiatrist immediately. So this is the way the so-called authorities, in other words, the 90% criminal faction in these intelligence agencies, this is the way they have been hiding these crimes against humanity. And so it becomes doubly important for people to push through that, also for people like us, who are in a position to write and to speak out publicly about this, to make a big deal of that stupid mentally ill label, because that's what it is. It is a label meant to destroy. It's a means of establishing a medical tyranny, a medical dictatorship in this country and around the world. We've got to take it apart.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's outrageous that a policeman or a deputy would essentially say to you, I'm stupid and ignorant, therefore you must be crazy.
At the end of the gateway is basically torture and targeted murder and human trafficking and rape and every horrific thing that you can imagine. So it is the NSA mass surveillance. It is not about surveillance. It is actually about human trafficking, human subjugation, and human murder, covert at first and then rather overt, on a massive scale across the entire world, not just the United States. So that's what we're talking about, Now, one thing I would like to
give me a yes or no answer to the question, does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
Do you know that school teachers are being given instructions to mark who is acting out, who is showing excessive oomph and speaking out, who is, just standing out? So in other words, children who might have natural leadership traits, might have high communication traits and abilities, are being singled out as violent extremists.
Yeah, the point I think behind that is that these teachers, and by the way, these programs are sometimes hidden the profiling of the gifted and so on, and profiling of leadership, qualities. And what will happen is that these children who are very outspoken, very natural, and very good at school, they come home, they go to bed at night, and at night your neighbor will be given a microwave weapon to microwave the brain of your child to turn it stupid, so that it's not a threat to the criminal cartels. And that program is already in full swing. We already have evidence of exactly that happening. So I'm not just making stuff up. This is part of the investigation. This is happening. This is exactly what.
And there are so many mothers.
Americans, Europeans, and people of the world, get going, because we need your help now. And, as a final word, remember that both Bill and I are being hit with directed energy weapons. We are both being tortured with non-consensual implants in our bodies that we can't get out. And we really need the intel community and the military to be finally stopped in these atrocious crimes against humanity that they are committing. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Bill will be on with me for future broadcasts about this. And we will certainly sink our teeth into government crime around the world wherever we can. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Bill. And I'm very much looking forward to the future broadcasts. And thank you very much to my audience. We love you all and we need you all. So get going. Bye for now.
There will be no loyalty except loyalty to the party. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. The moral to be drawn from this dangerous nightmare situation is a simple one. Don't let it happen. It depends on you.
When we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
This universal message showed a divine and direct path to the liberation of mankind, without any distinction or segregation between human beings. Nationalist segregation cannot be used as a pretext to manipulate or subvert the meaning of this universal message. Religious schism or religious segregations cannot be used as a pretext to manipulate or subvert the meaning of this universal message. No frontier can be used as a pretext to manipulate or subvert the meaning of this universal message. The secret services and spy agencies that attack our body, our health, our privacy, with weapons and despicable methods that are the shame of all humanity, organize and perpetrate militarized, obscene and manipulative segregation, when they perpetrate in total complicity, abject and ignominious, dirty crimes such as mass murder, genocide, torture, brainwashing, human trafficking, slavery, racketeering. These ignominious and abject crimes bind them in the darkness of their criminal collaboration, constituting an act of high treason against the world population. Refer to the documentation attached to this Universal Declaration. States, especially to the criminal and abject crimes of their secret services and spy agencies, intentionally attack your body, your health, your privacy, and the sanctity of the union between man and woman. Declare yourselves free as individuals and move forward with faith and sincerity on this divine and direct path to the liberation of mankind, and the free, rational, infinite, eternal, universal joy and happiness will be with you at all time until liberation and for all eternity. Proclaim and affirm strongly that no one had the right, or will ever have the right to attack your body under no pretext. Refer to the documentation attached to this universal message and learn more about dirty crimes of the secret services and spy agencies against the world population. Learn about silent weapons used against the entire world population. Learn about directed energy weapons. Learn about weaponization of your personal data and your biological data by the secret services and spy agencies. Learn about dirty intrusions perpetrated by these agents of the secret services and spy agencies using these dirty weapons and your personal data against you. Learn about human trafficking perpetrated by these horrific dirty agents of the secret services and spy agencies. Learn about conditioning and brainwashing perpetrated by these secret services and spy agencies for social manipulations. Learn about infiltrations and COINTELPRO, also called dirty tricks, perpetrated by these horrific agents of the secret services and spy agencies against heroes. Proclaim and affirm strongly that no one had the right, or will ever have the right to attack your privacy and weaponize your biological and your personal data. Proclaim and affirm the sanctity, the sanctuarity, and the inviolability of the union between man and woman. Proclaim and affirm with faith the divine essence of your thoughts. And strongly proclaim without fear that you will eradicate and oppose, by all means, any state, organization, and individual perpetrating such crimes against you. The dismantling and eradication of the secret services and spy agencies guilty of the dirtiest and most abject crimes in human history perpetrated against all humanity is an absolute necessity and the duty of every human being. All other fake debate, scientific, political, geopolitical, religious, economical, are only disinformations and subversions organized by these criminals belonging to the secret services and spy agencies, trying to delay the union of all humanity against their abject crimes and therefore delay their own eradication. The dismantling and eradication of spy agencies and secret services that are the shame of the entire humanity is the priority of all priority, the direct and unambiguous divine path to the liberation of mankind. Ce message universel montre la voie divine et directe de la libération de l'humanité entière, sans aucune distinction ou ségrégation entre êtres humains, et aux joies pour cette voie divine, directe et sans ambiguïté de la libération. Aucune ségrégation nationaliste ne peut être prétextée pour manipuler le sens de ce message universel. Aucune ségrégation ou schisme religieux ne peut être prétextée pour manipuler le sens de ce message universel. Aucune frontière ne peut être prétextée pour manipuler le sens de ce message universel. Les services secrets et agences d'espionnage qui attaquent notre corps, notre santé, notre intimité, avec des armes et méthodes abjectes, sont la honte de l'humanité. Organisent et perpètrent la ségrégation militarisée obscène et manipulatoire, alors même qu'ils perpètrent des crimes abjects, comme le meurtre, la torture, le lavage de cerveau, le trafic humain, l'esclavage, le racket, en complicité totale les uns avec les autres. Ces crimes abjects les lient dans les ténèbres de leur collaboration criminelle, constituant un acte de haute trahison envers la population mondiale. Veuillez vous référer à la documentation jointe à cette déclaration. les États, notamment à travers les activités criminelles et abjectes de leurs services secrets et agences d'espionnage, attaquent aujourd'hui intentionnellement votre corps, votre santé, votre intimité et le caractère sacré de l'union entre hommes et femmes. Proclamez-vous libre en tant qu'individu et avancez avec foi et sincérité sur cette voie divine et directe de la libération de l'humanité entière. Et la joie universelle enfin éternelle, libre et rationnelle, et sera avec vous à chaque instant, jusqu'à la libération et pour l'éternité. Proclamez avec force la sanctuarité et l'inviolabilité de votre corps, que personne n'a jamais eu le droit, n'a le droit, ni n'aura jamais le droit d'attaquer sous aucun prétexte. Déclarez qu'aucune arme physique, chimique ou biologique ne peut être utilisée pour attaquer votre corps. Proclamez et affirmez l'inviolabilité et le caractère sacré de votre intimité. Proclamez et affirmez avec force le caractère sacré, la sanctuarité et l'inviolabilité de l'union entre hommes et femmes. Proclamez et affirmez l'essence divine de votre pensée. Proclamez avec force que vous éradiquerez et vous opposerez par tous les moyens à tout État, organisation ou individu perpétrant de tels crimes contre vous. Le démantèlement et l'éradication des services secrets et agences d'espionnage, coupables des crimes les plus sales et abjects de l'histoire humaine, perpétrés contre l'humanité entière, est une nécessité absolue et le devoir de chaque être humain. Tous les autres problématiques, débats scientifiques, politiques, géopolitiques, religieux, ne sont que des désinformations, subversions, organisées par ces mêmes criminels appartenant aux services secrets et agences d'espionnage, tentant de retarder l'union de l'humanité entière contre leurs crimes abjects et donc tentant de retarder leur propre éradication. L'éradication de ces services secrets et agences d'espionnage est bien la priorité de toutes les priorités et la voie divine et directe et sans ambiguïté de la libération de l'humanité entière. Et ô joie pour cette voie divine, directe et sans ambiguïté de la libération